Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gora Premanandi. I don't know if any of you have been able to keep up with what we're doing in the evenings. Just a little summary. There's a number of Srimad Bhagavatam reading groups here in the Naperville congregation. This is one of them, or? No. Not here. Not yet. Oh, I get it. Okay. So, because there have been a number of groups that are different, some are in Canto 2, some are in Canto 4, and so forth. So it's just, this is an attempt to inspire those that are part of this and those that aren't yet part to participate in reading Srimad Bhagavatam, getting a kind of like a big picture of the first 6 cantos. That's the plan during this visit. So as you see, we're up to, it's Canto 4, Canto 4, Canto 4, chapters 8 through 12, because yesterday we discussed Canto 4, chapters 1 through 7. This is the 8th class, and this nice word flow, it's not intended to go into details, some detail that are important to get the picture, but it's just the flow of events as they go back and forth. So here's a nice title, The Story of a Determined Prince, Dhruva Maharaj, Determined Prince. This is, the first part is during his childhood. Later, the second part is he becomes the king and stuff happens when he's the king. So the initial part, he's just a little boy, very small. And here's a graphic to get a picture of chapter 8, down in the lower left corner, if you can see the image. It's Dhruva undergoing his austerities. And chapter 9 is Lord Vishnu appearing before him. Anyway, this 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The 10, 11, 12 is he becomes the king and something happens. He wants to take revenge for his stepbrother being killed by the Yakshas. But the most celebrated part of his pastime is 8 and 9, and that's what we're going to be discussing this evening. I don't think we're going to get to more than that. There's a nice picture of Dhruva as a young boy. Now, some background. This section of the Bhagavatam was particularly appreciated by Lord Chaitanya. According to one of the biographies, the primary biographies of Lord Chaitanya's life, Chaitanya Bhagavat, as you see in the painting, he, Lord Chaitanya, along with Nityananda and others, would hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day, not just once a week at a Bhagavatam reading group, but they would hear it every day from Gadadhar Pandit. Looks like some birds were sitting there listening too. And he attentively heard topics of Prahlad and Dhruva's cultivation of devotional service from the mouth of Gadadhar hundreds of times. So many of us, or maybe most of us, know this story. So it's hearing it hundreds of times is fine, because it's so relishable and there's very great significance in it. Prabhupada describes in a purport to one of the verses in chapter 8, There's 6 benefits of hearing Dhruva Maharaj's pastimes. So let's go through what those 6 are. Here's some nice graphics. I guess you can figure out what the one on the left means. Detachment from material possessions, both gross and subtle. Attachment to material possessions has to do with Dhruva was in a revenge mood. He wanted a kingdom, big time. He wanted better than his father. Although he was the eldest son, he's entitled by law to become the king. He wanted better than, well, there's some events we'll hear. Very, very attached to the material part of what he wanted his future to be, but he became completely free from it. Both gross and subtle. And the image on the right-hand side is somebody that's a thief walking away with something, and the person on the left is a little boy or young person making an offering to a deity of Krishna. So by the process of devotion, one becomes very happy inside and detached from all that is temporary outside in the course of time. There's another nice image. The second benefit is by hearing this, there's enhancement of one's devotional service by austerities and penances. Now, the image is meant to show when you water the root of a tree, all the parts of a tree are benefited. The branches and the twigs and the flowers and the fruits and the trunk and everything by watering the root. So watering the root is the tree of spiritual knowledge, is by hearing and also by engaging in very simple austerities and penances connected with the devotional process. So that's a benefit just from hearing this. A third, you can see from the image that in the book it says how to know Krishna. So if you want to know how to know Krishna, then you hear this story and it will help improve your faith in Krishna and your Krishna connection through bhakti. Another nice image, someone worshiping Krishna. Elevation to the transcendental platform of devotional service. By hearing about bhakti and the bhakta Dhruva, our own bhakti becomes nourished. And this is Prabhupada's explanation, practically speaking, there's elevation to the transcendental platform just by hearing, gradually, gradually. I've heard this pastime, not hundreds of times, but many, many times, and discussed it and described it many, many times. And it's true what Prabhupada writes. Gradually, the transcendental platform of devotional service is reached. Next, connection and experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just intellectually. That is to say, Dhruva went to the forest under Narada's direction to do some austerities, but he directly experienced Vishnu. Vishnu came. Well, nice. We'll hear some more as we go along. Our part is, with faith, steadfastly engage in devotional service. Krishna's part is reciprocation when we engage in his loving service. One can experience his reciprocation. It's factual, it's palpable. Just like when eating, you feel your hunger is subsiding. And you don't have to have somebody tell you, you are full, you've eaten enough. You can tell them from practical experience. That's what this fifth benefit is describing. And the final one, a nice illustration, it generates a feeling of pure devotional service in the hearts of the hearers. These are Prabhupada's statements. Just by hearing this again and again, this awakens. In addition to what Prabhupada spoke, there are additional, I mentioned two of them. There's a text from the Bhagavatam, Krishna's instructions to Uddhava Gita it's called, 11th Canto, chapter 14. Only by bhakti with full faith can devotees obtain me. Bhaktyaham ekaya grayaha. Only by devotional service can, with full faith, can Krishna be obtained. This is Krishna's words. And the comment by our acharyas is, both in the example of Dhruva and Prahlad, it's shown. They both attained Krishna, or Vishnu, or Lord Nrsingadev, but the personality of Godhead. Devotion with full faith. That's one of the lessons here. And by the association of bhakti, like a touchstone, the body made of the three gunas becomes free of the three gunas. What's that saying? Our material life is influenced by material nature, which is conducted by the three modes, three gunas. Although the body is made of the three gunas, one can overcome the three gunas by engaging the body in bhakti and bhaktas. By association with bhaktas, those engaged in bhakti, this body can carry us beyond the modes. That's pretty good. Beyond the modes is really special. The image here, this is a devotee stepping onto a Vaikuntha Vimana and going to the spiritual world, just from the power of bhakti. Here we go. We're beginning chapter 8. In the center of the lotus there, is Dhruva standing on one leg. Young Dhruva, insulted by his stepmother, leaves his palace for the forest to search out Lord Vishnu. Desiring a kingdom greater than that of his father, he does austerities to please the Lord. For the first month, he eats fruits and berries every third day. And it's more austere each month after that. He eventually just breathes once a month. He was a pretty good yogi. And so there's many things that happened. He gradually perfects the pranayama process and closes all the holes of his body. That's a little summary of what's in chapter 8. Here come some of the details. Towards the beginning of chapter 8, we see this nice verse, my dear Vidura. So everyone here knows who is Vidura, right? You know who is Vidura? You do? Fantastic. Vidura? No. You know who who Arjuna is, right? Arjuna. Arjuna is one of the sons of King Pandu. They're called the five Pandavas. You with me? So Pandu was one brother. His elder brother was Dhritarashtra, and his younger brother was Vidura. So Vidura was in the royal palace, and he was kicked out by Duryodhana. He was insulted so badly by Duryodhana, he just left and went on pilgrimage for 34 years. It's a long pilgrimage. And in the course of his pilgrimage, he went to holy places, heard from sadhus. Eventually, he made it to Vrindavan. There he met Uddhava. Uddhava sent him to go find Maitreya Muni, Maitreya Muni, great sage. And so there's a discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. It covers about 2.5 cantos. Discussions between Maitreya Muni, very elevated sage, and Vidura, very learned person also, highly elevated person. So it's a nice discussion. My dear Vidura, Maitreya is narrating this canto. I have summarily explained the causes of devastation. One who hears this description 3 times attains piety and washes the sinful contamination from his soul. Though, liberation. That's the graphic here. We're bound by the ropes of our conditioning, and by hearing about the causes of devastation, then one can become free from the causes of devastation. So devastation takes place because of irreligion and falsity. So that's internal and external, or collective. In an individual, they become degraded if they participate in irreligion and falsity, and they become elevated if they participate in religion and truth, satya, truthfulness, mode of goodness quality. So here's what's in this other chapter. This is just going to go through it quickly. Here's the adharma or irreligion part, and where there is irreligion, there we find falsity. And then from these two, irreligion and falsity, come bluffing and cheating and greed and cunning. This is what's in those verses. Anger and envy, quarrel, harsh speech, death, fear, excessive pain, and hell. So that's in those verses at the beginning of this 8th chapter. The sage is explaining to Vidura what's the cause of death, because there's been a prior discussion about, from we heard in chapter 7, is Daksha and his pride. And Daksha cursing Shiva, and he gets his head chopped off. He gets a big reaction. By the mercy of Lord Brahma, he gets another head instead of the one that was chopped off. But it was a goat's head. It wasn't too attractive. But he had to suffer for that severe behavior of viciously offending Lord Shiva. So there's this question: how does knowing all these things, the causes of destruction, devastation, help one to become pious? Because the statement is one becomes pious. And the answer is, by knowledge, one can avoid these items. Now, it doesn't guarantee you're going to avoid them if you know what they are. But knowledge helps in detachment. Jnana Vairagya, they fit together in the Vedic process. So they're items of knowledge. Right after that description, that was a little bonus, there's a description of the lineage of Dhruva Maharaj. So we saw this the other day, but we're going to see it again. At the top up there is Lord Brahma. He's the firstborn living being. And from Brahma directly came from his body Manu number 1. The first of the Manus was Swayambhuva Manu. And interestingly, simultaneously from his own body appeared both Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, his wife. And they appeared in adult forms. That was pretty good. And they had, as children, Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa asked Brahma, what service would you like for us? Please assign us some service. So he gave him the Manu service. And part of Manu's service is to fill up the universe with good living entities, because Brahma just finished building it or assembling it. And now it has to be put to use. So produce good praja. So it was, yes, sir. And there were 3 daughters and 2 sons. The 3 daughters are in the green over there on the left side. We touched on it a little bit already. In Canto 3, there's an extensive discussion of one of the 3 daughters. Her name was Devahuti. Devahuti married Narada Muni, and amongst their children was Kapila Dev and Kapila Dev's instructions in Sankhya philosophy. Canto 3. But now we're in Canto 4. So there were 2 sons, Priyavrata, which we're going to hear more about in the 5th canto, and Uttanapada, which we're going to hear a whole lot about right now. Uttanapada was one of the sons of Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, as you see in this chart here. And Uttanapada, as the king, had 2 queens. One was named Suniti, and the other was Suruchi. Suniti was the elder queen, and Dhruva was the firstborn son. The younger queen was named Suruchi, and her son's name was Uttama. So Dhruva and Uttama, we're going to hear these 2 names again shortly. They're stepbrothers. They have different mothers but the same father. 2 queens, 2 sons, stepbrothers. And Uttanapada is their father, king. He's the emperor of the world. And after hearing the genealogy, we get to hear a little bit about King Uttanapada. Now, what happened was the younger queen was his favorite. And the older queen, Dhruva's mother, was neglected. Not just like less favorite, she just was abandoned. It was really not nice. She didn't even stay in the palace. She lived elsewhere. They didn't. She stayed in her situation because of her son. But she was a little hurt by being neglected. As far as Dhruva was concerned, he saw his 2 mothers. So Niti is the one that's on the left, the one that's neglected, and Suruchi is the one that's on the right. She's the one decked out really nicely and enjoying palatial life. But Dhruva didn't see either of them differently. He's a little boy. He's very happy with both of them. However, one day, when Uttam, who's younger than Dhruva, was sitting on the king's lap, Dhruva wanted to sit on the king's lap too. And Suruchi spoke really harshly and told him, get down. And she said things that probably little boy wouldn't understand. But she said, unless you're born from my womb, you can't sit on your father's lap. You have to die. And if you're really lucky, you can take birth from my womb, and then you can sit on your father's lap. I mean, at least the tone that with which she spoke was not nice. And I don't know how much Dhruva understood what she said. And, there's the practical lessons. That is, what do you do when somebody mistreats you? It depends on who you are. It depends on how they mistreat you. But generally there's a reaction. And what the lesson with all of this, I'm going quickly because you go slowly, it's really important, but we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go quickly. It's react or respond. You have 2 choices. And there's subcategories of those 2. And if you respond, then you can respond thoughtfully. If you react, then it's maybe just going to be, you mistreat somebody back, tit for tat. That's kind of what happens. Oh yeah, I'll show you. And you may, let's say, inadvertently, unintentionally, you may have hurt someone else. And the response can be either this react or respond. So now we're going to see the stepmother, Suruchi. I like the painting. From her body language, you don't know what she's saying, but she's not nice. You will have to die and take birth from my womb to be able to get on your father's lap as well as on the throne, because he's the eldest son, but she's envious. She wants her son. It's a little bit like, Dhritarashtra wanting his sons. It's envy has some similarities when it shows up. So she just spoke really harshly, right in front of the king. The king heard what she said, the body language and the whole thing. And Dhruva looked at his father, and his father said nothing. So she's feeling envy, and she's speaking very harshly. This is connected with those initial, pride and cheating, greed and cunning, anger and envy, then harsh speech. They connect with those few verses we saw in the beginning. So there's little destructions and devastations that, like, you hurt somebody, that's a little one. Then there's the big destruction. But it's the same principle. Micro or mega. It's still, there are principles involved in destructive speech and behavior. And it arises from these causes. So this is a chart just to show what's going on from what was explained in the earlier. It's good to know what these things are because they're very hurtful. And, she ends up hurting herself, not just hurting Dhruva. We'll hear as we go along. So there's pride in her heart, where she's saying to Dhruva, although Krishna is the giver of spiritual awakening and liberation from the cycle of birth and death, Dhruva comes to know that. Instead, she's saying, if you get Krishna's mercy, not liberation, but you take birth from my womb. And then you can sit on your father's lap. She's very proud. She's bigger than Krishna. You have to take birth from my womb to achieve this by performing austerities. So you go to Krishna, and then you get something from me. She's got a big attitude, this lady. Pride makes one pull even Krishna down to their level or lower. You could get liberation from Krishna, but better than liberation from Krishna is take birth from my womb. So that's not a good position to have. We don't shine a favorable light on Suruchi. But then there's the king, and the king hears the whole thing, and he's passive. He's silent, and he made no protest, specifically it's mentioned. And that's because, he's afraid if I say something, then maybe my dear queen won't talk to me now. So I want her favor, and so I'll say nothing and ignore my duty as a father and as a husband, because she's going to get a big reaction for her offense. It's a big reaction. Then comes Dhruva's mother. So that the two queens again, Suruchi, stepmother, Suniti, his real mother. So how does Suniti behave when she hears this whole thing? She didn't see it because she's outside, not in the palace. He ran crying and crying to his mother. And immediately, Suniti held him and put him on her lap and listened to him crying and crying and crying. And she heard from those that were in the palace everything that was said and done. So now she knows what happened. And she's feeling hurt, naturally. Her son's been insulted in this really bad way. So what did she tell him? This is the response. She didn't get into retaliation and reacting, and I'm going to get her, and something, something, something. She immediately wanted to help her son, and the way to help your son or someone that you care about is to encourage them to live by higher principle. That's what she does. She says, she acknowledges, first of all, and she didn't act impulsively. She wants to find a solution. She searched, she couldn't find a solution. So this is the recommendation. Rather than, the react is just you fix on the problem, and the respond is you look for a solution. No, higher consciousness solution. The Bhagavatam describes she was breathing heavily. She didn't know the remedy. So she spoke this higher consciousness principle. Take shelter. Don't get into a get-back mood. The word in Sanskrit is mama galam, mangalam ta. My dear son, don't wish for anything inauspicious. Ma mangalam is inauspicious. Or fault finding. Don't find fault in others, and don't wish ill upon others, because when you wish ill upon others, it comes back. That same thing that you're wishing upon others comes back to you. That's a good lesson. I mean, she knows her son also. She knows what he can take and what he can't. So she's giving him wise advice. You have experienced the results of your own past conduct. Here comes the reaction of your own past conduct, previous births, whatever. And so suffering has come to you, so just don't get in a get-back mood. This amangalam is mentioned by our acharyas, is the nature of fault-finding. It's a problem in this world. It's a problem in conditioned life. Amangalam. Here's what our acharyas say. Don't find fault in others, because those who have given suffering to others previously will receive the same in this life. Right? What goes around comes around, or karma. It's subtle also. It's not just you inflict pain, but even you say something harsh, it comes back. The laws of material nature are very subtle and infallible. So when you get back something that you gave out previously, don't indulge in it some more. Don't get into a get-back mentality. Don't be in a fault-finding mentality. Then instead, there's this principle of acceptance. Doesn't mean you live your life as a punching bag, but you don't get in a reacting mood and start vilifying others because they said something harsh to you. This is the nature of responding as opposed to reacting. Nice lesson in this story. take shelter of higher principles. She says, take up the worship of Vishnu. While you're accepting, this is coming to me because I deserve it from my past harsh behavior with others, turn your attention to Vishnu. If you desire at all to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Now, the stepmother, that's the nasty one. Suruchi. I've given her a nickname. So nasty. Very nasty. And so, although what the stepmother said was done in a nasty mood, his mother is saying, she's right. Take shelter of Krishna. Take shelter of Vishnu. And give up this enmity. Give up your envious attitude. She was envious of you because you're entitled to sit on the throne. Don't be envious of her and have enmity towards her. Give this up. Take shelter of Vishnu. Really good lesson. Now, that's what she was doing, and she was modeling it for her son. And she's giving the instruction. Of course, each of us are different, and each of our dependents are a little different also. So you may not always say the same thing that Suniti said, but it's a principle that's worth considering. At least the principle of take shelter of higher principles when something hurtful happens. Because when there's envy, there's an envy image. Envy is like a hungry demon with lots of sharp teeth, which can eat away at any positive qualities. A good person can become corrupted by envy or pride or some other bad association with a lower motive nature. We're looking at the favorable, I mean, by going over this story so many times, I hold his mother in really high regard. She's like Supermom. She's really a role model for anyone that's a mother to learn from how to be a good mother. She has affection for her son. She placed him on her lap and patted him and all of those things. But now she has an opportunity to help him go to a higher place. And she knows how to do it because she knows him. So this is a response from the heart of someone who's devoted. Take shelter of one who is the shelter for higher principles. That's the lotus feet of Vishnu. Just like these two little birds. They're taking shelter of Mama Bird. And they're protected. So when we take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, we're protected. We don't have to defend ourselves and all that stuff. You may take action, you may say something, that's fine. But if you're in the mood of being protected by the Supreme Lord, it's very, very different than being like an animal. That someone woof, 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 and then another dog goes woof, 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 and they're showing their teeth and growling, and that's how animals behave. And higher consciousness people don't behave that way. Easier said than done, but that's what his mother is teaching. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshiping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without delay. Don't go in this envy direction. Go in the higher principle direction. Take shelter of the lotus feet of the Personality of Godhead. Now this is a function of Guru. Mother and or father and or friend can perform the function of Guru. The technical term is Vartma, Pradarshaka Guru. Vartma means path. And Pradarshaka is one who shows you the path. So, it's not giving all instructions from the A to Z, but it's pointing the way. There's the way, there's the path to Krishna, go that way. That's what she's doing for her little boy. Then she went on this topic of here's just a graphic. There's the one side, there's the react, and there's the respond. And we may not have, you may or may not have children, but we all have relationships with people, and some relationships with others where it happens that something comes into our life. This is a stress management message. Sometimes life throws rocks at you, and it hurts. Now, what are you going to do? It's right in this Dhruva Maharaj story. I mean, it's just a story, but there's some teaching what to do. So the Stress Management 101 says you take the rock, acknowledge, it hit me, and it hurts. Now what am I going to do? You take the rock and toss it in the air a few times, and you consider, what are my options? No, because the react is you pick the rock up and throw it back at somebody, or something like that. But a thoughtful mode of goodness behavior, you consider what your options are, and you accept, at least, this rock hit me, and it hurts. You're not blaming wherever the rock came from, or the pain, but you recognize, so there's this principle that's built into a response behavior when something hurtful happens, as you accept it. Now, accepting it, you make some choices. How are you going to respond? But when you're in the mode of goodness space of reflecting, then you can select a wise response rather than a hurtful get-back response. That's the idea. So here's a chart that it's just representing something that a Bhakti Shastri teacher presented. He didn't use the graphics, but these are his words. His name is Adi Purusha. He's a nice teacher in Vrindavan. Acceptance. Here we go. When we don't accept an undesired event, it becomes anger. When we accept it, it becomes tolerance. When we don't accept uncertainty, it becomes fear. When we accept it, it becomes adventure. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. I just had a discussion today with someone, long story, but they've been living with some uncertainty about a very important matter for about 3 months, having to do with COVID and this and that and the other. It's like a really important decision, and uncertainty. It's, I'm sure it's very stressful. But, it's working out, and so, we're on the other side of that uncertainty. Now it's certain. And so they're moving forward and putting things together. So it's an adventure. When we don't accept others' bad behavior towards us, it becomes hatred. When we accept it, it becomes forgiveness. Much better. When we don't accept others' success, it becomes jealousy. When we accept it, it becomes inspiration. And then the final acceptance is the key to handling life well. Now this is the Bhagavad Gita teacher saying this is one of the important messages of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm saying this is one of the important messages of the Dhruva story. A mode of goodness position as opposed to passion and ignorance position. So after hearing what his mother suggested, considering it carefully, he left the palace and went to the forest. So that's the end of the chapter. And now we're ready for the next chapter. He goes to the forest to find Vishnu, but he doesn't know how to find Vishnu in the forest. When he goes to the forest, he sees trees and bugs and birds and animals and all kinds of things, but he doesn't see Vishnu. So fortunately for him, Narada heard that he had gone to the forest, so Narada came. And Dhruva looks really happy. Hey, Narada. And Narada very kindly places his hand on Dhruva's head. And the Sanskrit of the verse says, Agha gnena panina. His panina, his hand, removes agha, sin. By the hand which can drive away sinful activities, Narada touched Dhruva and blessed him. Notice, we're still in chapter 8. And Narada gave instructions. Dhruva responded honestly. Your instructions are good, but I can't follow them. We'll hear that shortly. Here's what Narada says. The idea that you want to accomplish, these austerities to find Vishnu in the forest, it's not possible for an ordinary person, and it's very difficult to please the Supreme Lord. Many sages have tried for many births through many types of austerities, but were not successful in finding the Lord. Note what's in big letters. Not possible, very difficult, not successful. You're too young, and so you'll not be successful. Wait till you're older and you can come out and try it again. In other words, mission impossible. And then he gets a final instruction. He's not discouraging exactly, he's examining. How determined is this boy? Because it is not easy, and he knows it. He ends this way. It's a nice teaching. Every man, of course he's a little boy, every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Now, those who are familiar with the bhakti teachings, this is the Madhyama Adhikari description. Beginning, intermediate, advanced. And the intermediate, or Madhyama Bhakta, is meant to do these three things. Those that are more advanced, you honor them. Those that are less advanced, you extend yourself compassionately to help them. Those that are peers, you make friends. And when you have those Madhyama qualities, then the threefold miseries of the material world aren't going to touch you. So, materialistic people have a different approach. How is that? Those that are more qualified, what do? Somebody that's more qualified than you, you're envious. Someone who's less qualified, you deride. Someone who's equal, you exhibit pride and compete. So Narada, is encouraging exactly the same way as his mother. Give up this attitude. He says, this isn't the attitude of someone who's going to find Vishnu. You can't be in a get-back mood and find Vishnu. You have to let go of that. If you want to get Vishnu, you want to worship Vishnu, you can't continue like this. So, give up, go home, grow up, find peace of mind with the following peace formula. Now there's a peace formula in Bhagavad Gita. Here's what Narada says. Narada was very pleased with Dhruva, and he could have at once personally given whatever he wanted. But that is not the duty of the spiritual master. His duty is to engage the disciple in proper devotional service, as prescribed in the Shastra. Not just give things, but elevate. And then the Lord will supply when the consciousness is elevated. Exactly, that's what Prabhupada did. Slowly, slowly elevate people. And so they could then achieve the higher purposes of life. So here's what Dhruva had to say. And basically, everything that you said is fine, except I can't follow it. Because I'm a Kshatriya in spirit, and it doesn't stay in my heart. I want a kingdom. So you're a sadhu, you probably can help me find out how to get this kingdom. And my mom said, Vishnu can give you, can take care of anything. So please help me find Vishnu. You can do it, Narada. Please help me. My dear Lord Narada Ji, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the material conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained is certainly a very good instruction. But as far as I am concerned, I am covered by ignorance, and this philosophy does not touch my heart. Have you had the experience of trying to give some basic bhakti teachings to others, and somehow it doesn't go in? We've all had that experience. So there's a little lesson here. In the Dhruva story, he's too attached. There's these other modes working, like a rope, guna. There's the mode of passion, hankering about the future, and ignorance, lamenting over the past. So persons can't be absorbed in Krishna thought and Krishna bhakti if they're too much absorbed in these lower modes of nature. And that's what Dhruva is saying about himself. Dhruva was confident that the instruction given by Narada was valuable. So he didn't criticize the instruction. It's good instruction. He frankly admitted he was not beyond the affliction of material distress and happiness. Appreciate and accept the instruction, at least on a so what do you do if someone advises you to do something that you feel it's just not possible for you? This is a good lesson. There's lots of lessons in this. So you appreciate the instruction, at least on a conscious level, and if it's not doable, say so. Don't be envious of the instructor or the instruction, but you may have some difficulty in applying it. That attitude will help you get to the point where you can apply it. This is our theme so many times over and over again, acceptance and progress. This is where I am, this is where I want to be, and I'm accepting this is where I am. And I'm not rejecting where I want to be, but the steps to get there, I have to give some careful thought to it. So he's now asking him to change. O learned Brahmana, I want to occupy a position more exalted than any yet achieved within the three worlds by anyone, even by my fathers and grandfathers. If you will oblige, kindly advise me of an honest path by which I can achieve the goal of my life. Honest path means he wants the proper means. If Krishna offered him such a position, then he would accept it. That's the proper means. Okay, I'm going to go along quickly now. So Narada continues. He's establishing, he's tested his disciple or student or little boy, Dhruva. He sees how determined he is, and he's capable of following some very strong instructions. So he gives him instructions how to do this meditation process and how to do his austerities, and he gives him mantra and the place to go, everything. He gives him A to Z. It's really very comprehensive instruction. How to make a deity, how to worship the deity, how to make offerings. Very interesting. Narada really shows a lot of mercy to Dhruva. And off he goes. He goes to Madhuvana in Vrindavan. Have any of you been there? Someday. It's Dhruva Tila. There's a hill, and there's a temple up on top of the hill. It's a place where he went, near Inchin Madhuvana. Nice place. Very quiet and, not commercial at all. It's a very, very simple place. And a nice temple, nice altar, nice deities. So he followed, he underwent the austerities that were given, and chanting of his mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He was ready to do this for a long time. When in receiving instructions, this is from teaching from Patanjali Yoga that Jiva Goswami makes reference to. If you're going to do yoga practice effectively, we're doing bhakti yoga, there's three things. There's Sanskrit terms for each of these, but you do for some prolonged period of time, and you do regularly or consistently, and you do with reference to the instruction and the teacher who has given you the instruction. This is Patanjali Yoga. For something to be yoga, it has these three parts. Otherwise, you can't really call it yoga. Not occasionally, but consistently, and for a long period of time. And with faith, with respect and regard for the teacher, the guru. So he's giving him instructions. I'll go through it quickly. I mean, what I'm doing right now normally takes about 3 days worth of classes. So I'm not feeling really satisfied, because it's just like fast. And it's really something worth getting absorbed in. So, but we're doing what we're doing. It's doing just like an overview kind of thing. And to get the full benefit, hopefully you'll feel inspired to read over this section very carefully, or there's, the more extended recordings of this seminar, so you can get the most from the whole Dhruva Maharaj story. It's very, very uplifting. Okay. Control your mind to speech, be peaceful, be satisfied with eating whatever is available in the forest, leaves and dried things, yummy stuff. Meditate on the Lord's transcendental activities, follow in the footsteps of previous devotees, and chant the mantra, by which the Lord fulfills all desires. So listen to his austerities, pretty intense. Dhruva reached Madhuvana, and took bath in the Jamuna, started worshiping the Lord with the mantra. In the first month, he ate kapita fruits and berries. Kapita fruits are a particular kind of fruit that usually only monkeys can eat, because they're really hard. Kapita fruits and berries every 3 days. He's like 6 years old. Think about it, those of you that are mothers. Second month, every 6 days, dry grass and leaves. Dry grass and leaves every 6 days. Third month, water every 9 days. Pretty intense. I mean, he's doing all these other things, but this was his food intake. 4th month, air, every 12 days. You can't hold your breath that long. He's developed mystic yoga powers. Suspending the ingoing, the outgoing air of life. But his body is not emaciated. He's not expiring or turning purple. He's becoming very advanced in yoga. By the 5th month, Dhruva controlled his breath and mind, stood motionless on one foot, like a pillar, and meditated on the Lord's form without diversion. That celebrated this painting here. That's what Dhruva's standing position was. And that's the 5th month. During the 6th month, the air of the universe became stopped by his yoga process. It created a problem. The demigods had to go to Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, help. We can't breathe, and the whole universe can't breathe. We never experienced this before. So we'll get to that. Here's a little lesson within this bigger lesson. Acceptance of our current spiritual level brings humility. That's easy to understand. Humility gives courage. If it's spiritual, gives courage. Courage gives determination to progress in the path towards a goal. The correct path and goal are repeatedly shown only by a bona fide spiritual master. So Dhruva's very determined, and he's the path and the means to fulfill that path has been given to him by Narada. But is determination alone enough? Just by determination can you achieve Krishna? You need mercy along with determination. So we're in the 6th month, as Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg, the pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. Pretty interesting painting, huh? Have you ever seen an elephant on a boat? I have. The experience that I had was in Mayapur. The Ganga runs right alongside our temple. And the temple keeps an elephant. Her name is Gulab. And, every once a week on Sunday evening, they take the deity, the Utsav deity from the temple, place the Utsav deity in a little, containing like special, what don't you call it, facility that goes on the top of the head of the elephant. And then there's some Brahmin boys that are chanting mantras, and then the elephant goes on elephant procession, taking the deity and kirtan, and then bringing the deity off the elephant, because the elephant is trained to reach down and then take the deity off back onto the altar. It's a really nice festival. And sometimes they have a similar festival, much not so regularly, but a festival where they take the elephant on a boat and then go up and down the Ganges. The village people love it. But when the elephant steps on the boat, the boat goes way over here, and then the elephant steps over there. So, they have her trained so she walks really slowly, and it's a good, strong boat. But still, So, I have a visual experience of what this verse is saying, how the earth was pushed down, because Dhruva was carrying the weight of Lord Vishnu within him. So the earth was being pushed down. And I don't know if we're going to get further. I mean, we finished chapter 8. And next comes chapter 9. It's I think we'll go ahead. Not sure. Maybe I won't. We'll finish, next time we'll finish chapter 9 and then the concluding chapters where he becomes the king. And that's what I think we'll do. And even going fast, it still took over an hour. So any thoughts or comments or questions, or you'd like to have something further discussed?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. The question is, so when Narada Muni was instructing Dhruva, he was giving him instructions of a Madhyamadhikari. He could have very well instructed him to become like a Uttamadhikari.
Yeah, he already tried that and it was no.
Okay, so that was the question, why?
Yeah, he understood from the interaction with him. I mean, Dhruva's not saying no, but he's not saying yes. You know, in his body language, in his countenance, probably told him, you know, the answer is no. So he gave him, at least do this. And then you can be peaceful.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. My question is, Suniti was very much fixed in Vishnu's devotion.
Yes.
And
she had all faith.
Yeah. And she was feeling disheartened
Yes.
with his husband.
Naturally so.
And with her husband. And when Dhruva got into the situation from Suruchi, she became more disheartened, although she was fixed in.
No, she wasn't disheartened prior to that. I mean,
okay.
She accepted this is my situation. Basically, what the Acharyas explained is she stayed for her son. Not just like he's going to one day become the king, so I'm going to stick around, so I'll have my son will become the king. She wasn't like that. She was her mother, and she, you know, she was wanting to give shelter to her son. So that was her function, that was her service. So she stayed, and she didn't get morose. She was just doing the service that was available for her.
Good news. Thank you.
And passing on her own good quality and good character to her son, her devotion. And it worked. It didn't happen immediately, but it happened.
This is from Sri Radhika Mataji. The title of Canto 4 is Creation of the Fourth Order.
Yes, it is.
What does the fourth order refer to?
The Brahmana.
The second question from Sri Radhika Mataji is, I think it's Dhruva. Dhruva held no hostility towards Suruchi or Uttama. They had to suffer the reactions for her offense to Dhruva. In the life of Uttanapad, we do not hear of any reactions for his silence to Dhruva when Dhruva was being offended.
Oh, his reaction was his regret. His tapa was his regret. And living with the thought that because of me, my son is maybe dead, maybe eaten by a wild animal or who knows what, and he went through, a lot of difficulty as a result. And he learned a lesson from it.
And a comment also from Shriradhika Mataji. Your recently concluded retreat has left so much healthy turmoil in my heart regarding authenticity and Vaishnava etiquette. In the examples of Mother Suniti, acknowledging her pain, yet rising to a higher level of consciousness, and Dhruva Maharaj in his honesty with his spiritual master, we see the epitome of the healthy marriage between authenticity and Vaishnava etiquette.
Yes, I was thinking the same.
Panduranga Gopal Prabhu's question.
For the benefit of those that are in the room, it may not be aware of what we did this. In the Memorial Day weekend, a group of us who were speakers addressed a topic: Vaishnava etiquette and authenticity are both possible simultaneously. And covered it in many different ways. And the modern sense of authenticity and the spiritual sense of authenticity don't match up. So we spoke about both. Now, she's a very elevated personality. And as a very elevated personality, it does not mean she doesn't feel hurt. Her feelings of hurt were real feelings of hurt, or authentic feelings. She's a mother, and her son's been badly insulted, so she feels those motherly feelings. And she has higher consciousness. She has faith in Vishnu. And she wants to pass on that higher quality, higher virtue to her son. And so she does. With faith. And he accepts her words. He goes to the forest. And he doesn't do the other part, give up your enmity. But he went to the forest, with enmity. Carrying that impurity. But he became free from it by, in part, by the good association of his exalted mother. So, Vaishnava etiquette and authenticity blend when you're a qualified person like her. Next.
Panduranga Gopal Prabhu's question. Very nice lecture. We read in so many places that Krishna or Vishnu is not pleased by austerities. But in so many places...
Wait a minute. It's not by austerities alone that Vishnu is pleased, but we live a life of austerity. And we have a material body. There's an austerity. Or using what Prabhupada speaks of, following the regular principles. That's, for some people, that's like, for Lord Zetland, impossible. So it's that we have austerity. It's not austerities alone, but we have austerities. And when you do those for the purpose of pleasing Krishna, then Krishna is pleased. Technology is amazing.
The comment is from Ritika Khanna. Thank you so much for this wonderful lecture. I learned many things in a short time. It's awesome. All glories to you.
Okay. Well, she can, maybe someone can send her. You send her the links so she can hear the more extended version. Where we didn't like run, but we went slowly and carefully and thoughtfully over these very, very nice, very valuable points. Anything else? That's it? Anything in the room? You can take your mask off. You gotta speak though. Take your mask off.
We had many questions before.
Okay, you gotta put your mask back on now. I'm teasing him because I don't think he likes wearing a mask.
This is from Uttama Bhakta Prabhu.
Okay.
Dhruva's attachment for kingdom grew out of circumstances.
Yes.
Is it different from natural affinity for opulence that comes from the modes?
Well, not necessarily. How that affinity arises can be different. But, in his case, in other words, it can be different for different persons, but the place that it's coming from is mode of passion. And he's a Kshatriya, it's mode of passion. That's what he says to Narada. I'm in this mode, he says ignorance, but I can't take these good instructions. So how that artarti, it's passion. Okay.
Root cause of envy also.
Yes.
Amara Mataji.
Okay.
Is root cause of envy also ignorance?
Is the root cause of envy ignorance? Well, the root cause of everything is ignoring Krishna. And so ignorance is the essence of ignoring Krishna. So you can say that, but just be very clear what it means by ignorance is the root cause. It's ignoring Krishna. Okay. You have something more.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, I will ask on behalf of Pavitra. She's my friend. We discussed few things in the past, and she was asking this question: if unknowingly she has maybe cursed somebody, and she has a fear of the karmic reactions coming back to her. Can you give some
How
remedy?
can you unknowingly curse somebody?
Maybe knowingly.
And in a moment of a burst of passion or something, you say something harsh.
That's right. Guru
Then the
Maharaj.
question is, does that come back to you? Yes.
So she has a fear. She's feeling it might come back, and then how to deal with it, and
You accept it. I mean, you regret it. But you have to take responsibility for it. You can't just tuck it under the rug or something. So you seek forgiveness from the person who you may have been harsh to. This just came up. I mean, in the past 48 hours, someone spoke very harshly in their house, and they were surprised. And the family members were surprised because it's uncharacteristic. So what to do? And the advice, they were coached, sit with your family members and say, I don't know where that came from, and I feel really badly, and I hope you can forgive me. And it's not, it's an uncharacteristic outburst. And they understand that. And so then the forgiveness or not forgiveness is in the hands of somebody else. But like we said, when somebody, forgiveness is an option. And feeling angry is another option. But you're not responsible for how others respond. You're responsible for what you do. And say. More.
This is Chintamani Mataji. Like you mentioned about the experience of trying to get someone to perform devotional service and they don't get it. What if it's a family member who we really want to understand and appreciate the glories of devotional service, but they don't, and how to bring them around?
Give up the idea that you're going to bring them around. That's one thing. Like, I'm going to do it. The souls make free will choices. So someone that's dear to you, family member or not family member, they're going to make choices. So you try to model, and you see a little spark, and you fan that little spark. Continue to be patient and don't push. Give up the idea that you're going to make somebody do something. The karta aham. Give up that idea. That gets the opposite result.
This is from Mahati Mataji, Mahati Kirti Mataji. Mother Suniti guided Dhruva to go to the forest and pray, as that was the appropriate in Satya Yuga. How to guide kids in Kali Yuga when they have goals and desires in the mode of passion?
This is a parenting question. Depends on the child. It depends on their desires and goals. You could try to dovetail that desire to something that's going to be more elevating. You can try to connect something that is more elevating and like fan that spark, so that while that which they're, the dependent is wanting very much to do, you're not discouraging it or quashing it, but you're growing something that's more wholesome side by side, and they may feel more happiness with that, which is more wholesome side by side. At least that's in their life. So, I'd have to know the situation to make some recommendation what to do. Hare Krishna. That's it. Prabhupada ki jai.